Well, every championship that I've been at in the 2013-14 season has ended with the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater as the national champion, so it only made sense that they needed just one game on Tuesday to win the 2014 Division III Baseball World Series and take home Walnut and Bronze for the second time in baseball as well. I'm Pat Coleman of D3Sports.com. I'm joined by Jim Dixon, as always, our guru of baseball for D3Baseball.com, and it was a game today in which Whitewater beat Emory by the score of 7-0, and, frankly, dominant pitching performance by a guy coming back with a full 3 days rest. And for Emory, and that was Scott Plaza for Whitewater, and for Emory, Jackson Weig could not quite manage to match him as he went the first 3 1/3, gave up 5 runs. But a game in which it wasn't necessarily over early, but Whitewater scored first, second, third, and fourth, and Emory never quite strung enough hits together to really be in it.
That is exactly right. Emory just needed to come out strong. We talked to St. Thomas coach Chris O'Lean yesterday, and he said, he played both teams. He said, Emory needs to come out strong. Mm-hmm. And I think when they did not come out strong, when they did not start scoring runs, then you saw that the writing was on the wall. And as long as Whitewater was continuing to add points to the board, it just got harder and harder for the Emory Eagles.
Emory, which had started strongly in so many of its games here in this tournament, the first inning for the Eagles on Tuesday is just a contrast. It is struck out, grounded to first unassisted, grounded to first unassisted, and I don't know if, you couldn't set the table more poorly, frankly, for Emory out of that first inning.
It is true. The Eagles needed to get started early, and Whitewater had the pitcher to sit there. Even though he was only 60%, as the coach said, he gave 100% of that 60%, and he sat there and he utilized his defense, and that's what you need to do to win these big games.
Plaza goes the full 9 innings. He said in the post-game news conference there was no way they were getting him out of that game, and with a 7-0 lead. No need to. 7 hits, 2 walks allowed, struck out 9, improved to 9-2, and just a fantastic season and a fantastic run, frankly. Whitewater's ended the season, I believe, with 11 consecutive victories. They really hit the ball very well throughout this entire tournament. Dylan Friend, 2 for 4 today with an RBI. Michael Pierce, 2 for 4 with an RBI. Casey Power, 2 for 3 with a pair of runs scored. Adam Gregory, who hasn't had the greatest tournament. He had 2 key RBIs out of the bottom of the lineup, and really, I forget which coach said it of the other 7 earlier in the week, but Whitewater is a lineup that just doesn't give you a break. They are 1-9. They will challenge you every single time. When
you look at the Whitewater box score, that is the same box score that we saw for Emory for the two games yesterday. Mm-hmm. And so Emory needed to sit there and put runs on the board and hits on the board. So they just weren't able to do it. And Scott Plaza was certainly worthy of our MVP for the tournament.
Yep, he is our most outstanding player. You can see the whole D3Baseball.com all-tournament team. Our selections, 1 per position, starting pitchers, relief pitcher, designated hitter, and you'll find that all on D3Baseball.com because, as always, with every team that we select at D3Sports.com, it has to be a team that takes the field. And some years, you end up having to, maybe scratch to find a catcher or find a second baseman who had a great all-around performance. But this year was really not the case. It was not all that difficult at all to come up with great performances at every spot.
The one position that I saw great performances throughout the program is second base. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of second basemen that sat there and played very well. It was very difficult to sit there and say which second baseman would you're going to take to be your best second baseman in the tournament because so many of them played so very well.
We talk about Mark D'Amelio from Cortland State. They were only here for 3 games, but he hit over 600, maybe 615, something like that, 8 for 13. I might just be making that up. Had some great defensive plays. Jared Kahn, obviously, who played on the final day for Emory, had a great performances at second base as well, and not alone.
Yeah, and Nick Coleman from University of Whitewater had another outstanding tournament.
I think some of the things that people are going to talk about coming out of this season may not even be so baseball oriented. There were some questions in the post-game news conference, and we will follow up with a story on d3sports.com later in the course of the next couple weeks about how the Whitewater program, I don't know if you want to call it the trifecta, the Triple Crown, whatever you want, they swept the three most prominent championships in Division III sports or in college sports in general. They won the football national championship, of course, in Stag Bowl 41 back in December. Pat Miller's men's basketball team won the Final Four, won the national championship in Salem, Virginia for the second time in 3 years. And then baseball came and did it as well. And what I've gleaned from talking to a couple players and talking to both John Vodenlich for Whitewater, the baseball coach, and Lance Leipold, the football coach, it's these programs don't pressure the others to perform, they really inspire the others to perform. Vodenlich was talking about when the men's basketball team, that game ended back in March, they won the national championship. He said his phone blew up with texts, basically all of them saying, hey, now it's our turn, let's go do this too.
It's nice to have some friendly rivalries when you're sitting with the different teams. But I think that it was said right when the Whitewater players say, we're a team, one team of 20 different sports. And you can see that in the performance that Whitewater has had throughout the year in terms of their championships. They fell short in softball just this same weekend. So Whitewater's put on a lot of good sports programs out there.
Yep, I believe national runners-up in wrestling. I think they've won a couple of championships in sports that the NCAA doesn't sponsor as well, women's gymnastics, and I believe wheelchair men's basketball. But again, it's just an impressive broad-based performance for the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater Athletic Department here in the 2013-14 season. Jim, as it turns out, even though the softball tournament was extended by an extra day this year and an extra week, this was the last athletic competition of the 2013-2014 Division III season, and it ends up with just a fantastic finish. It wasn't the greatest game, at least from competitive standpoint, because we didn't get to the second game. And Emory was not so much in the first game, but give me your kind of take on the 2014 Division III baseball season as a whole.
It actually was a pretty good season, and one of the things that you can tell is that when you look at the polls and how they change throughout the year, there were 4 or 5 teams that were in the top 5, and certainly Whitewater was up there with everybody else. But when you look at the teams that are following the top 5, it really was a lot of jostling around. There are a lot of good programs out there having career years. Baldwin Wallace came here, and they set a program record for wins. You look at universities like Vassar, they set a program for wins. There are a lot of programs out there that are up and coming, and I see that baseball is only going to get more competitive and harder to repeat.
The final D3Baseball.com top 25 won't come out for a day or so yet. We'll be collecting the final ballots. I know that on my ballot, think about teams who jump up and might move in. I'm thinking about, these are not teams who were in the top 25 before, but might make some big moves, teams that weren't here. First of all, I'm thinking of Wisconsin-Stevens Point, which had a great tournament, was really close to getting here as well, and obviously had to battle and face Whitewater several times during the season. Stevens
Point had an excellent season, and they started out strong. They had a little bit of a lull towards the end, but once they got out of the tournament, once they got into the regional, they really did play to full advantage. And unfortunately, they played Linfield on their home turf, and Linfield was still playing like that number 1 team. They came here and stumbled, but certainly University of Stevens Point is going to have another strong program next year.
I think about, obviously there are a couple teams who were here. Baldwin Wallace came in unranked. Emory came in ranked number 22. They're going to make some big jumps. Anybody who didn't make the tournament or who didn't get out of the regional that you think is due for a big jump in the rankings as well?
I would think that Adrian is a team that sat there and showed well. They had to play Whitewater in the Midwest Regional. University of Washington was unable to make the tournament, and I think they were the best team left off the board. I could see them sneaking into the top 25.
Washington University in St. Louis. Certainly, I know they'll get some votes because they were on my ballot, but I'm one of 25, Jim's another one of 25, and like all of our top 25s, they're a mixture of coaches and SIDs and people who cover Division III baseball from around the country. So Jim, 2014 Division III baseball season is in the books. Any other final thoughts before we close off our final recap of the World Series?
I think it was a great championship series we had. We certainly have a deserving champion in University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. They went out there and they won it. They won it both with their bats. They won it both on the pitching mound. So you really got to credit to the Warhawks for sitting there and claiming the championship. They came in here wanting it, and they really did take it away. But it has once again been another exceptional year for Division III baseball.
So for Jim Dixon, I'm Pat Coleman. Congratulations to the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. I feel like I've said that many, many times over the course of the past 12 months and over the course of the past decade or so. Signing off from Appleton, Wisconsin here for D3Baseball.com. You can see all the rest of our coverage from the Division III Baseball World Series on the site. Go to www.d3baseball.com. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at D3Baseball and on Facebook at facebook.com/D3Baseball.